Let's take the mid-range of what the impeccably independent Institute for Fiscal Studies says there would be in terms of a black hole in the public finances. The mid-range, not the worst case, the mid-range is a £30 billion hole in the public finances. And this would be a permanent and structural hole. We couldn't just borrow more money to tide ourselves over.
Like proposed Lower Thames crossing. Could you tell me where we stand on both those areas?
And this is just the hard reality. We've both been there in the chair. You've got to make the books add up. And frankly, there are only a certain number of taxes you can put up that are going to raise the sums required, and there are only a certain number of big government budgets you can cut. And that's the cold reality of quitting the EU.
Brexit would deliver one, but they say what happens is you reduce taxation, you borrow a bit.
A vote to remain is a vote for a strong economy. And with all my heart, I will be fighting every hour until next Thursday to persuade people that we're stronger, safer and better off by voting to stay in a reformed EU. Front row there. I'll wait for the microphone. There we go.
Here we are 6 years after the banking crash, and our economy is growing, but we know the rest of the world is and it's still in a fairly fragile state. Why on earth would we leave the largest single market we have, the largest one in the world, when we know there's going to be a hit, when we have no idea what the future holds, it's a leap in the dark, and when we know as a consequence of doing that, the Chancellor couldn't leave it for several years before he got round to doing something about it. He'd have to sort it out now, which is why both of us are saying, me from my experience for 8 years ago, George Osborne from experience now, we'd have to do something about it now. And that something is something we would both like to avoid because we don't need to do it. It would be a self-inflicted wound.
Growth, that actually we keep taxes low, but more importantly that we...
This country next week is going to take a massive decision, a decision on which we can't go back. And if we do that, the risk is that we get ourselves into even deeper water because we're coming into it from a lower base, which is why I think it would be absolute madness for us to take a leap in the dark into a position where we can't come back. And that's why I think people should think long and hard about this and just think about the risks as well as the gains if we remain in the European Union.